Hi, I'm Kim,
I'm Torra.
and this is our podcast, Kicking It with Kimm and Torra. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, four topics, 15 minutes each, and let me get the timer set so that we can dive right into our first topic, which is what is acceptable behavior in marriage?
Well, let me ask you, being as though you are in the law business, what is acceptable behavior? Like, what is crossing the line based on the law?
Necessarily know that there's a law on what crossing the line is.
Mhm.
I think that the kinds of things that the law would indicate are justification for divorce would be abandoning your spouse, mental
Okay.
cruelty, so abandonment and desertion, mental cruelty, actual fornication, things of that nature. But I think on a psychological human level,
Mhm.
there are many things other than that that we would consider crossing the line in a marriage situation.
What about tit for tat? Like, and I mean, when you've known your spouse has stepped out on you and you've never stepped out on your spouse, and then you have an opportunity to, does the court consider that also? Like, well, you did it, so now she's doing it, so now y'all equal?
No,
Is
I think
it,
what the courts
it gets
consider is
caught
whether or not you reconciliated with the intent to restore the marriage. And then
after you
that
did what you did?
after, no, after anybody, after one party is unfaithful and the party split or the marriage breaks down,
Hmm.
if you come back together primarily in a physical manner
Mhm,
and you cohabitate or do anything with the
mhm.
intent to reestablish the marriage, then it's sort of like crosses it off the list.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything like, oh, he fornicated, you did too. I mean, at that point, it really is just a matter of do the parties wish to remain in the marriage or do the
Oh,
parties wish to end the marriage because they both have the ground of fornication as a justification for ending the marriage.
okay. And I asked that because there was a situation where some guy who was married and his wife stepped out on him and he was just getting his life back together. Nice looking guy, nice guy, very well to do, meaning he had a great job, he had a, nice car. He appeared to have, his finances in order, came on my job and asked to take me out. And I was like, I'm married. And he said,
He
you're
was not
married?
married,
He was married and
but
his
his
wife
wife
stepped
has
out on
stepped
him.
out on him.
Yeah.
So
And
he
so
was
they
looking for his revenge.
he was looking for his revenge. And they had separated. She lived in the house that he was currently, well, they currently both reside in, but he moved out and got his own little one bedroom somewhere.
So
And
she
so
stayed in the marital home. He
she stayed in the
left.
marriage. She's probably one of those people that knows that if she leaves, then it looks bad on her. So I guess he didn't care. Because I got into the fact that I was like, well, I'm married. So, I'm sorry you can't take me out. He's like, well, I was married too. He was like, and then he started like spewing his guts to me, telling me how his wife stepped out on him. And he asked me, do I think that my husband is faithful? And of course, I wanted to blurt it out. I'm like, of course, hell no.
Wow, that's a loaded question for sure.
Right. I wanted to like air everything out, but I was like, well, I don't really like worry about is he faithful. I just worry about me and my soul and what's gonna, get me through life. I said the politically correct thing. Of course, I wanted to be like,
Not to mention that you're at work, you don't really know this guy. That
right.
might not be the person or the place for that
And
conversation.
that's exactly what I felt. I didn't even feel like I should be having that conversation. So anyway, he decided to, say, well, I'm just letting you know that there are faithful men out there, and I was one. And I was like, trying to praise him for that. I was like, I want you to stay faithful, and I want you to stay knowing that
Was
they
his
are.
intent to end his marriage, or he's
Yeah.
just out in the apartment trying to figure out what to do?
No, he's done. He's done because he said he had always suspected that she was cheating, and his friends had always snickered about it, and he was just like, no, she's just a flirt, she's just a flirt, she was a flirt when she met me, she's just a flirt. And I was just like, that's so, I get it, like I get what kind of person she could be, but I would never cross that line, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right,
she
because
might.
you can be a flirt without fornicating.
And
Well, I guess
exactly.
really when you're married, it's not fornication, it's adultery.
It's
It's
adultery.
called adultery.
Right. And he said that he knew that she had always been a flirt, but he didn't think that she would ever cross the line. And he said he he did the ultimate thing. He said he took off from work, called out for work. He told them he wanted to be out for like a whole week. And he got his nerves up to do it because he said he had to brace himself to see if he could handle what he was, if he found anything. So he went through her credit cards and her phone records and he followed her and he did everything himself. I was just like,
So
what?
he knew,
He did.
we know when we know. He was really just looking for
And
confirmation
I
of
wanted to
what
say
he
that to him,
already
but I was
knew.
like, I ain't gonna tell him. You already knew. Why'd you go through all of that?
I mean, he may
But
have been in denial, but somewhere in him, he knew what she was doing because he went, I thought he just came home early from work, but he went through her credit card bills and he did a lot. He knew.
he went through her credit card bills and he went through her laundry and he just did, yeah, he said he did it all. So and I was just being like, I didn't know. Okay, so instantly I started thinking, I don't want this guy to go and do nothing to somebody or himself, so just be an ear for him to just whatever he's spewing. So I was just the ear at the time and he was like, yeah, so I came here the other day when you was in here, I don't know if you remember me, I had on my sweat. I really did not remember him.
He
Maybe
said he
that's
had
my
come in
life.
previously.
He said he came in previously. He said I was there with my other manager. I was there with my assistant manager today, but then he said I was in there with my manager. And he said the manager helped him. He was buying some clothes, for the apartment that he had moved into. That was day one. And my manager hasn't been there in about a week and almost like a week and a half. Yeah, almost like a week and a half. So it had to have been more than that because he said he was in there about 2 weeks ago. So he said I didn't pay him any mind. I didn't, talk to him or anything. He said I greeted him at the door and then I went on whatever I was doing. So that would be me. And he said he kept saying to himself, gosh, I would like to be able to talk to her. I would like to go, and talk. I said, why me though? Like, what made you? He's like, I don't know.
Or that's how human nature is. Like it's that chemistry, it's that something that's like, whoop, that's the one. So did he literally come back in really just to see you on the pretext of buying some clothes?
He had flowers.
Oh my goodness.
I gave them to my coworker though. I gave them to her because I was like, girl, I can't bring these home. I said, my man is in the house.
Did you tell him about what happened?
No, he's in the basement doing his little draft thing right now. So I'll tell him later. But
okay.
Anywho.
So girl, you better get on those toes before brother comes through.
No, it's so funny because this guy, when I went out to California, I went to this casino and it was probably like 3:00 in the morning here. So it was like 12 o'clock there. And this guy tried to talk to me when I was in California. He literally told my husband, he's like, this dude better get up on his game and better stay 10 toes down. No real woman is supposed to be here in the casino at 12 o'clock by herself and without a man. He was talking to me and I was just like, oh, so I told my husband that when I came home, I was like, look, this dude out in California told me you need to start staying 10 toes down and get on your, because I ain't supposed to be out in California by myself. He just running game. That's what these guys do. I said, okay, that might be what they do, but what I'm saying is that might be what you do to other people, but I'm letting you know people doing it to me. So now I'm at work and this guy he came in with some flowers and everything. And I'm just like, oh my God, they're so pretty. I'm thinking he's ready to take somebody and give these to somebody. He's like, well, they're for you. I was like, oh, for me.
Wow, that's so nice.
I thought maybe I helped him with a really big sale or really did something. He's like, no, I saw you when I came in last week. And then after that, I was like, oh, well, no, you can't take me out. I'm married. He was like, well, listen, I don't know. Something just telling me I can just keep this right where it is. He's like, I'm going to leave my card. You can call me if you ever get a chance. Or if anything goes down, you can call me. But I'm just going to leave my card right here on the desk. I was like, it's no need. I'm fine.
You were the good wife.
Right. But by the means, my coworker is sitting in the corner cracking up laughing, which is my assistant. I mean, my manager's assistant. She's cracking up laughing. So when she leaves, she was like, what you just say here last week wearing your husband's ring around your neck? I was like, yes. She was like, I think you better not throw that card away. I was like,
But
girl,
she's never been married, has she?
no.
Because that's the nature of a marriage, honey. This week I'm done, the big D word. Next week, oh well, we reconcile, we have kids, everything's okay. I mean, a marriage goes through all that multiple times.
And it's so funny because she got that young blood that I know Torra had, though. So she's not Torra, but she has that young blood that I know and I remember when I had
But
that
we have to
energy.
grow out of that, or you could
Right.
never. I mean, my marriage lasted over 10 years, even though I'm not married now. Your marriage has
Mhm.
lasted more than twice that time,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
don't get there if we all had that attitude because I remember just, dude, I'm over it. I'm
Right.
done. It's a wrap. And
It's
then
a
I'm on
wrap.
to the next one. And no, you're not, I don't like to move backwards. I'm sorry, you had your chance, all that. But we have
I
to grow out of that a little bit
and
when
it was
we
just so cute.
determine to keep our marriages.
And family. See, my thing,
Family.
if it was just marriage, I can't promise you I would have stayed. That's why my question is what it is. Like how much and what's crossing the line in a marriage is because I don't know if it was just him and I would have put that much effort into staying. I think the whole dynamic of the children, the grandchildren, the bills, the journey, all that helps you stay, you
I
know?
agree. I agree with that. I think for a lot of us, we stay for those reasons. I probably stayed longer than I otherwise would have
Mhm.
because I had young children. But ultimately, I made the decision that I could do better on my own. I could be
Mhm.
more peaceful. I
Mhm.
could achieve the things I wanted. I have a different mindset than other people. So, but I stayed longer than I would have. I sure as hell stayed longer than I would have before I actually said I do. And then, even then, I think I stayed a bit longer because of the children. And I did not get divorced for a long time, like maybe, I can't remember if it was 4 years, 6 years, some number of years. We were just separated. I actually did not get divorced. And the children factored into that too.
See, that's amazing that you're saying that, and maybe people who are listening or will listen will know that there's two sides to every story. Because in Hollywood, they will have you thinking, "Look, we irreconcilable differences moved on," and
Not
people think
really.
that has something to do with the money or whatever. You know, you got the money. What is the point of staying? But my thing is, when you see relationships like Whitney, you know, she put it down long
Girl,
before it
he
should.
was tolerating her. She was a straight drug addict. So
Right.
from what it seems, more so than he was. That was really, the
Exactly.
drugs were her issue. I
Her
know
was
he
her issue.
went through a lot with her.
And people who don't know both sides of the story knows that she had this bright light. She dimmed it and I heard her side and his side, but she definitely dimmed her light so he could shine and not she wouldn't outshine him.
Oh
And
wow.
I get that. I get that.
I get that too.
So you know
But
what I mean?
men have a way of not appreciating what you're doing when you're doing it. And then you're just like, "Huh,
Preach,
I'm done
preach,
because I got this light. I have this energy. I have these skills. I have this knowledge.
preach.
I was trying, my brother, to tamp it down some so that we could move on this journey. But you
Mhm.
have just pushed me too far. Bye bye. Let me go do what I do."
But that's another conversation we gotta have, and we have to have more married couples on here so we can get that uh, to a boiling point. Because you think about a Jay Z and a Beyonce, clearly she wouldn't have put that much information out there if it wasn't true. Clearly he stepped out on her. Clearly
But that should be
we
solace.
know that it was because her light was so bright and he couldn't take it.
Yes, because of who he is. And that should be
Right.
solace for all other women. If they're stepping out on Beyonce and Cardi B, see, I
Yeah.
don't hold these people in high regard, but I know
Mhm.
that in this idol culture, a lot of
Mhm.
people do. And if
Mhm.
those men are stepping out on those women, one who has
Jennifer
the whole
Lopez.
plastic Barbie look, the
Mhm.
other who's more natural, but both of whom are making a ton of money with all the fans, all the everything, then if they step out on you, you know it's not because of who you are either. It's because
Absolutely.
of something in them. Because
Mhm.
Jay-Z did that because of something in Jay-Z.
Oh yeah.
Offset did that because of something in Offset. You can't look at those women and say,
Yeah.
if only you were prettier, if only you had your shape together, if only you
Only if you
dressed
had
well,
money.
if only you have, yeah, it's none of
Yeah.
that. So it's about those men. And it is really the exact same thing in our day-to-day
Yeah.
lives when we're feel not we, but when women
I know what you
are
mean.
feeling insecure about if I only, no, not if you only anything, that's
Nope.
his issue. If you only had you a man who didn't have those issues, you wouldn't be experiencing those problems. We
Well
need to talk
said.
about how do you come back from infidelity, but we've got 15 seconds. I don't think that's going to be today.
And you remember when Stephen Curry wife said, he gets all the, who's and the hots from all these women, and she's like, and I don't get anything anymore. And all the men went crazy, like, oh, she has this great life, she has a wonderful husband. Why does she want to be hooped and hollered at by men? And it was not even that. Like, as a woman, I got what she was saying.
Well,
Because when
see,
that
I
guy,
didn't get hers. I
you
didn't
didn't
get
get
her so
her.
much because she's not in the public eye. She doesn't really have a career that I know of, even though I think I learned that she does some home stuff,
Mhm,
fashions or
mhm,
something.
mhm.
But I didn't understand why she thought she would get that kind of accolades. I can understand why Beyonce or Cardi or
Mhm. But she's
somebody, it doesn't
like
have to
on
be
my
those
level.
singers.
She's saying even on her level, like if she's at the grocery store, she knows she look cute. Ain't no guy turning around going, "Oh, mama, you look good." You know what I mean?
Oh,
Or
yeah, yeah,
if she's
yeah, as
at
a
the
woman.
bank and somebody says, "Looking good today, mom." No, no, she's not getting. And I get that because
Oh, I
I
thought she
remember,
meant um like Instagram, public
yes,
kind of thing.
anything,
She meant
anybody
on an individual
on an
one-on-one level.
individual level. Like when
Why
that
was that
guy left,
happening?
my
Why
head
was
was
she not
this
getting
big.
any play? Because she's a
No,
try.
she said she just wasn't because I guess, she was in mommy mode. She had, she picked up some weight. She probably wasn't even, taking good care of herself. Like I know we do as parents, we focus on our family and our kids. As moms, we do that. I shouldn't even say parents because sometimes dad don't do that. But moms, we go dive in, good moms dive in to be family members and parents and everything. And we forget about ourselves, and that doesn't become appealing or attractive to just the average man. And we're not saying we care what the average man thinks, but it's just an ego thing where if you do get a nice looking guy or a guy of some type of level of stature says to you, "You looking good, mom. Hey, you look nice," or whatever, it lets you think like,
Oh yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I got you. All right. Well, we're gonna come back and talk about that again because I think I
absolutely.
misconstrued what she was saying. But it is
Mm-mm.
always nice, even when you're not interested, when they're like,
What?
when they, you're like, thank you.
We're not talking
All
about the one
right.
with no teeth, and we're not talking about that
Oh
guy.
no,
We're not talking about the
that's
wine
just
boy on the
annoying.
corner.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
just
we are
annoying.
talking about the brother
We're talking
that,
about the brothers.
yes,
They
that is,
know, whoever's watching knows who we're talking about.
yes.
All right, so topic number 2 is Billy Carson. You
Okay.
and I both watched his, I don't even know what that was. He did an interview with Leon Kennedy, is what he did.
Mhm.
And it was live on IG, Instagram,
Sure was.
and we both watched it. What did you, and
Well,
I
I saw it
personally,
live on YouTube.
oh, that's where I saw it. It wasn't on
Okay.
Instagram. I
Mhm.
saw it live on YouTube. And as I had mentioned to you, I had been watching him for years, but I stopped because he stopped. He decided to do this Billy Carson TV or Forbidden
Mhm.
Knowledge TV. And then they take all their content over there and want you to pay, and they're not coming on
Mhm.
YouTube and stuff anymore. But I used to watch him all the time. What did you think of it,
I
Tora?
appreciate you saying that because I will hit him up some kind of way and let him know, do not leave now. I am on board because everything he said was golden to me. I felt like I was no longer a stranger in my own body and mind anymore because he was saying things that my circle, and I'll say my circle so I don't actually name the other people in my family and life that have done what he says can be done. And I've been able to know these things about what your body and your mind can do forever. It's never been a thing for me. But however, people have tried to put me away in mental institutions, and people have said that I was crazy. And then
That's
you meet
because
this,
people are in a little box. And if you can be in that little box, then you scare them and they don't, and that's the kind of reaction you get.
And it has to be devilish. We grew up in such a world where they told Black people that anything supernatural about your life is devilish. If you could see something, feel something, dream something, you were tapping into the devil. And I always knew that what I felt was never devilish, so that no one was going to make anything I did a bad thing. And when people in my family who are very close to me, and like I said, I won't say them because I'm trying to help them right now while they're getting their supernatural skills together. I want them to know to keep going with it. Don't ever, you will never feel that around me. You know, you will never be told from me that that's crazy talk or that's dumb and that's, you
They're
know,
really blessed to have you to encourage them, because that's why Black people are, well, really, I'm not talking about us individually, but as a race, we're cut off from our spirituality.
hello.
Even though the world is mental or spiritual first, we don't have that connection. We're stuck here in this limited reality because we're limited in what we can physically see and hear. They start teaching us see, touch, feel, smell right at the beginning, and we limit ourselves to that very narrow realm, and we're missing out on all the richness of what it is to live in this world, to be who we are, and to control our world. And I did a TikTok on our ancestors are not evil. We need to wake up and tap into that and regain our power. Oh my
And
God.
it's so beautiful having you in my life and you don't judge that, because even people who I've had in my life for years, mind you, I know my best friend, my female best friend, she knows it. She's always known it. She even was the movie I was telling you about on Netflix about how the girl, you know, time traveled. She was the
that
one
I
that
couldn't watch because it seemed too raw. It was too raw.
Right. And it wasn't. It was more so like how what Billy Carson was talking about. And she told me to watch that. And the reason why is because she's known my secret all my life, you know, and it had to be a secret to me because everyone else would think you're crazy, or everyone else would want to know, you know, why am I talking like this? Or why am I saying
Or
this?
they burn witches at the stake in this country. So I
Yeah.
could see why it would have to be secret. All those feelings and sentiments did not go away.
Right.
So I get it.
So when I would say certain things, and I'll just give you this one little snippet, and this is why I love what Billy Carson was talking about. When the sniper was in DC and everyone was looking for some white boys, I was the only person telling my family, no, look out for Black people. And they were like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's two Black men. It's not, one isn't Black, a man, one isn't a man, but they're both Black, but one isn't a man. Everybody in my family was like, no, there's some, you know, white boys. And I was like, no, not this time. Everyone. And I gave some of the people the connections, you know, between my last name, which was Williams, and my best friend last name, which was Osborne. And the person that sold him the car that he was shooting everyone in, last name was Osborne, which is my best friend's last name. My last name is Williams, which was his last name until he adapted, you know, his Muslim or whatever. I don't even want to call it a Muslim last name, whatever his last name was. So mind you, that always stayed on my heart. And I never knew why that stayed on my heart. That whole situation always stayed on my heart. And my heart always went out to that little boy. I saw an abused child that wanted love and was going to do whatever he could do to get it. Literally what popped up on my phone yesterday was they're reviewing the case.
The young man's.
The Supreme Court
because
is
to see if he was under duress or something like that. But let me ask you.
That was programmed under a grown man who had worked in the government and in the military to do exactly what he trained this little boy to do. He was trained to do that to grown men. Why would you think he couldn't do this to a child with butter fingers? I'm like, what?
Let me ask you this though. Now, Billy Carson talked about, oh my God, he hit on so many subjects. How does what he talked about relate to your abilities? I might have missed it. Did he talk about our ability to do more than we're doing? And being limited by this body?
Yeah, well, he actually said exactly what I was saying about we have been told that it's dark spirits. We've been told that it's evil. We've been told that the voodoo doctor was bad. We've been told that, natural healing, the mind over the body was, crazy. He talked about so many things, and he was saying that now that there's an awakening, that people are starting to tap into it. So it's what I've had all these years is not going to be abnormal anymore.
Right.
This is going to be the norm for a lot of people. And he was talking about, in ancient Egypt, like he's been there, he's done that. He knows that certain things and how certain things came about because he was allowed to see these things. He was allowed to explore these things. And most people would never even appreciate what was coming out of his mouth, but it referred to me because I'm able to be at one with my brain, say things, see things, and then fix it based off of the feelings that I have, the dreams that I have, and manifestation. And I'm not the only one in my family that has it. A person in my family I'm very close with has it, and I'm watching them be better than me at what they do. And it's not tarot cards, it's not any of those things, it's not psychics, it's none of
Intuitive, it's inside of you, right?
exactly. And
See, I have been watching him so well. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I have watched him so much that it doesn't stand out for me what he said, because the thing, I've always heard him talk about those. I've always heard him talk about the Anunnaki. I've always heard him talk about all those things. So it was still interesting, but it was more of what I already
they could do it better than I could dream of doing it, because they had me and trillions of people like me around them, teaching them and helping them.
But you can do that too. We just haven't had the support. Yeah, but you can do everything they did and more. You just don't have the support.
I think had I been nurtured since a child,
yes,
I could have. But I think the older you get, the pineal gland either hardens or starts protecting itself and develops.
Not if you stop eating, not if you stop brushing your teeth with fluoride, stop drinking water with fluoride in it, get that sun every day. It is there. And our bodies, that is a fallacy that we've been taught too. Our bodies are not designed to die at 80 and 90. I know what he talked about the Anunnaki modifying our chromosome. That is true, but we're still about 200 years, 120 years, not this 60, 70-year-old stuff. So everything they taught us about aging and all of that, it isn't true.
I believe that.
At one point when I was overweight, which is about 20 more pounds than I am now, which is enough to be overweight, I went to a weight doctor. And that man said to me, a lot of the things people associate with aging actually is due to obesity. All that joint pain, all that stuff, that's not aging. That's not having taken care of your body. If you fix your body, those things will be handled.
So true.
So I think you can still do everything, and you can start right where you are, elevating your frequency, bringing out your power, and still get to wherever you would have been.
I believe that too.
But I'm so Pollyanna.
No, you're not. I really believe that too. And I believe that part of me that would love to be able to do that isn't that disciplined yet. I'm getting there. I'm working on it. It's hard in the space that I'm in, which you know what I'm in, but it's hard to bring myself to that. And I feel like I have to be alone and at one with myself to really raise my frequency. And I'm not. Okay. I'm not at all. I have all these other outside forces that are at me right now. And I don't want to sound like, pity party, woe is me, but I know that I need to take some time off. I know I need to step away from everything I love and everything I and loves me. And I need to just be at one with myself, whether it's a month or 2 weeks. I do know I need that at one.
So you need a retreat. You need a retreat. And then when you come back, you can start meditating. And you might can start it now. You meditate and you just 20 minutes a day and say, this is me time. I'm going to sit here and whatever. It will start building too.
I agree.
But that's discipline too. And it takes time. I mean, we start where we are, and then we just do what we can,
And one thing I want to just be able to make it known that there are fears. And I do share those fears. I share the fears of the unknown, and I share the fears of wishing and regretting that I didn't do things earlier or sooner. So there are fears that I have, not great fears, you know what I mean? Not great fears, but
Mhm.
just fears.
So
Fears.
what did you think about what he said about I told you he always goes to the Anunnaki, the aliens, Enlil and Inky and all of that. What did you think about and Thoth? What did you think about that part? Because a lot of people are like, he lost me on that. That's where I
Well,
draw
and
the line.
that's something I admire too, because he even talked about the god Ogun, and he also talked about the god Ra, Amun Ra.
Mhm.
And when you say these names of these people and you've heard of them and you've done your investigation on it, it seems like you said about how you've already heard them say certain things. It seems normal to me. But when you say aliens, people want to say, oh, there goes the conspiracy, but we don't have any other name. We don't have any other name to say other than aliens for certain things.
Or
Like he doesn't,
extraterrestrial. We can call
extraterrestrial. Yeah, we
yeah.
don't have the actual name because we haven't met those people yet. We weren't able to teleport there yet. We haven't able to communicate with them yet. So we have to give whatever America has given us about UFOs, aliens, and all of that.
Which
So,
is some straight bull, no question.
well, I believe now they can't hide it. I believe now that's why it's so much from the government coming out saying, well, yeah, we do think we've been visited by UFOs. Like, why now? Why now y'all just letting it
Because
out? I feel like you can't hide it anymore.
there is a theory that they're planning to do a false flags with aliens. And so they will be leak, always anything they do, they put truth in it to make it more believable. So they will be leaking out truths that they've hidden, and then they will build on that to do some deception to cause whatever reaction it is that they're seeking.
I can understand that, and I can see how someone might take that as a fact or that as a conspiracy. However, you're playing with the right people now. You're playing with the right entities because they've laid dormant. They've been quiet. They haven't been messing with you. But now when you start putting their name into stuff and putting their powers into stuff, I believe you're going to get a response that you weren't prepared for.
So you didn't feel like, oh, what is he talking about? You were like, oh yeah, okay. You were on board with the things that he was saying.
Absolutely, because they were already things that I've already projected and thought to myself, whether no matter if it's come from the divine or whether it's just come from now, me being bewildered in my dreams. I don't know where it's coming from, but everything he was saying, I was like in agreement with because I can see it. I
Okay.
truly can see we are getting ready to be visited. And like I said, we're using words because that's what we've been taught, like the word God. We know now we can still use it, but we know that can't
It's
be
not
who
what
God.
we've been taught it was.
Right, right. You know what I'm
I
saying?
do think this is the age of information and everything is going to change. And a lot of the things they're doing, including the virus, including the jab, including a lot of stuff, has to do with the fact that they know what's coming down the pipe even more so than we do. But I'm here for whatever. Whatever
And it was a
comes,
word he
I'm
used.
here
I'm
for it.
trying to look up the word. He used a word, but I cannot find. He used. It wasn't anarchy. It was a word he used to describe extraterrestrials communicating with us, Black people, because white people. He was saying has pineal glands too, but theirs aren't activated. He was saying ours have always been activated.
I
Ours
don't know that part, but I might go back and listen again because I may have missed that part. But that was
are.
our time. I'll listen again and then we can do more because he covered way more than the Anunnaki. He covered ancient civilizations. He covered just all kind of stuff. And so we could talk
So
about it
do you
again.
not realize if you look at the interview, this is just me and you talking now. If you look at his interview and you see the way he speaks and you see what comes out of his mouth after a question is being asked, do you really think that can just be a conspiracy to speak like that? Do you not know
Well,
that that
he
has
has
to
studied
come?
that for years. By the
That's what I'm
time
saying.
I found him,
Mhm.
he had already been studying it for like a decade. He does anomalies
Mhm.
on Mars or in space. He has some kind of uh, master's or doctorate degree in some really technical fields. So he really knows this stuff and has traveled. But anyway, okay, that's our time. Let's do another segment on him next week if we can recall that.
Absolutely.
And then topic number 3 is spoiled kids who develop ailments to avoid everything.
That is because, of course, like I always say, I'm on another social media site and I have lots of controversy on my other social media site just for the content that I put up.
Yes, you are a star, ma'am. Yes, you are.
Woo! So these kids, oh my God, I'm always getting in a battle with them about their ailments. They have depression, they have anxiety, they have panic attacks, they have other things. And I'm always telling them everybody does. And those things have been around for hundreds of years, but you can't just lay down on them. You can't just lay down, what is it, your loins or whatever, you just can't. You know, you have to rise up and you have to say, okay, I gotta work, I gotta create, I gotta learn, I gotta be productive. No, this new generation is like, I have an excuse. And because I have this excuse, I shouldn't have to worry about cleaning, making money, being educated, or pursuing anything in life. This is this new generation, Gen Z.
Well, what they will surely learn, because depression is not new, anxiety is not new, none of those ailments are new. And what they will surely learn is that that's what separates the men from the boys and the women from the girls. There are times when I feel down, there are times when I'm afraid or nervous, but the reason I have some measure of success is that I push through. And if I'm down, I may not be pushing as hard as I normally am, but I am going to keep walking until that dissipates. When you lie down and say, I'm
And
depressed,
accept it.
I'm anxious, I'm this, so I'm just going to stay in my cocoon, then you miss your opportunities,
Hold
you
on.
do not make progress, and you will turn around and find yourself at the bottom of the heap while you have to push through. And I don't know when they're going to learn that, but you have to push through in life.
Hold on, you haven't even heard the end all game. The end all game is, well, when we commit suicide, then you'll be happy.
And
I'm
some
like,
of them
so
have done
selfish.
that.
Yeah.
Some, there is, I know that from my own children, there is a balance between I want to push you to succeed and I want to identify with the struggles you're having so that you don't feel alone and do something drastic. And I think that parents like us who spent a lot of time with our children
Mhm.
maybe have an easier time finding where that line is, when to
Mhm.
push, and when to say, oh, come on, just come on, let's go have dinner, let's take a load off, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you can't be threatened by the whole suicide thing.
So I'm saying this for listeners because, like I said, I'm bringing you all into our kitchen table and letting you hear what we talk about. When we were younger, as Black people, we thought suicide, or we heard that suicide was really only in the white community because
And
they
we
had
also
so
learned
much
that it was a
pressure.
cardinal sin. We
Right.
learned that that was, and I think it has to be false because everything they
No,
tell
it's
us is
totally
a
false.
lie.
And I will
Well,
always believe that was in the Bible so slaves could stop killing themselves to get away from slavery. And they were like, hold on, we make them fear that they don't go to heaven, then
or
they
to
won't do it.
escape this hellhole of a matrix down
Right,
here.
right.
They taught us that that's the one sin that this
Yeah.
all
Can't
forgiving,
be
all
forgiven.
seeing creator will never forgive you for.
Yeah.
He'll forgive you for anything else, but
No,
not suicide.
exactly. But when I was growing up, all I knew who committed suicide was Caucasian. Well, heard. You know, if it was on the news, it was the celebrity. If it was this, it was always a
It
Caucasian
didn't
person.
loom large in my life. We didn't do a lot of talking about suicide.
Well, when we did, because of the people I grew up around, and which was a large Caucasian community. And so
So you knew people who committed suicide?
their parents, lots of parents had done it. Yeah, lots of
Really?
parents had done it. I think maybe a couple of kids had done it because I went to Severna Park High School, and that they were number one in the United, almost like in the county for suicide was, and
Are
and
you kidding?
Yeah, and that was they were like in the history books, and they probably will stay in the history books for
I
that.
had no idea. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
and so but in that area was more affluential white Caucasian people. So the pressure was either on them or the neglect was on them, whatever. It was a chemistry of whatever's. And because I didn't know, all I knew is that area was always prone for a lot of suicides amongst the kids. And now we fast forward it with social media. That's not true. Every Asians, blacks, whites, everybody does it. Everybody commits suicide. However, it's just so prevalent right now. And I just get so upset with these kids because everybody feels suicidal at some point in time, and they're like, the hell with this. I want to give up. I'm over it. But like you said, there has to be a push past day. I'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow's better. I'll do it on Friday. And then
And it
Friday,
may happen more than once in your life where you're just like, enough already.
enough
I've
already.
done what I need here. Let's go. But
And
yeah,
my
you can't give
point,
into that.
you can't give into that. And that's what I'm trying to teach these kids. So that's my next, I think, journey I want to do in life, is to try to tell these kids, like, I believe you, and I believe that you have programmed your brain to believe you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but that is such a selfish cop out.
Especially
Because
when you're under 30 and you haven't even really figured
way
out.
under 30. I'm talking about these kids are like 18, 19-year-old,
You haven't
17 year
even
old.
figured out what life's about. You don't even really know who you are right now. And that's a part of the reason that you're having so much emotional difficulty, is because you're trying to find yourself and where you're gonna fit in.
Fit
And
in,
that's a
right?
difficult thing
And God
to
forbid,
do.
we're not talking about the child that's being tortured. God bless that child and its soul. I pray all the time for those kids. We're not
You
talking
mean
about
tortured by their peers or their parents or something?
parents, peers, whoever is their
Get
caregiver.
out. I'm gonna say two
Right.
words, get out. I know
Right.
there's emotional stuff with that, but get out.
Right.
That's
And
what they
we
need.
and they're, there's kids who are so physically and mentally abused. And I get those kids feeling like this can't be it. I'm done here. If I have to put up with this one more day, I get that.
Yeah, that's
However,
different.
like you said, if you can get out,
But
I
that's
want
different.
people
That's an
to
extreme situation. Most of
exactly.
these kids you're talking about are,
And
I'm
I'm talking
assuming, are
about
not
those kids.
in that level.
No, I'm talking about the kid who has a roof over their head, clothes on the back, food on the table. Mommy is just busy working to provide all that. Daddy's physically working to provide all that. And somehow you're feeling like, oh, the world revolves around you. That's the people I'm talking about. I am not talking about on the extreme end of abuse. That is not what I'm talking about.
Right,
I
right.
have
That's
to
a
let
different
these kids
situation.
know that on my other social media sites, that is not what I'm talking about. We are talking about people who are really just sitting there being all about themselves and being selfish. And when do we sit there and say to these kids, stop being selfish, suck it up, get over these ailments, because they're fake at this point. Even if you really do have anxiety, if you really do have panic, if you really are stressed, at this point, you want to know what stress is? Like I used to tell my kids, I would drive through the hood and I would show them at the hour that I know they're going to be out there. This is what stress is. You don't know this life. You've never known this life. If I put you out
And
right
God
now,
willing, you never will.
right. But I had to let them know, like they would be like, I'm so this and I'm so that, and we don't this, because they had lived a life of privilege. And I had to let them know, taking them to the worst parts of Baltimore. Let me show you.
I do find that some of our kids can be like, I got school today. I got work today. Like, do you see me working around the clock 2 weeks straight to get a brief filed, 4 hours sleep a night?
Ain't go to school.
You know,
Ain't got to prepare dinner. Ain't got to get myself together. Ain't got to get y'all together. Ain't got to make sure y'all going to all y'all appointments that you didn't know
I
that.
give them a pass right now. I give them a pass right now. And I just say they will learn to be stronger. They will learn to endure. But I know a bit of what you're talking about.
Well, that probably has to be like a next thing on our bucket list, is to really like help these kids understand that there's going to be a life out there for them that they're not prepared for. They're not.
Well, I think that our kids are probably better prepared because of how we handle it. I surely have driven them to where I grew up and said, listen, this is what you don't know. This is what I busted my butt so you will never know.
Never know.
But I think those other kids on your social media, maybe don't have parents that are really just breaking it down for them like that. And somebody's got to tell them, if you're going to be a success,
Yep.
you're going to have to push through, because that's the difference between those who are and those who aren't. 99% of people are going to fall back into whatever those excuses are.
Yep.
The winners are going to be like, oh, hell no, not
Yep.
today, you know.
They
And
say
do
when the
anything.
tough gets going, when the tough gets tougher, the tough gets going, or something like
When
that.
the going gets
Get
tough, the
tough, the
tough
tough
gets
gets going.
going.
There it is.
Something
There
like
it is.
that. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
So you're working with kids on that platform. You're like responding to them and trying to encourage
Oh,
them.
yeah, I am, because I don't want anyone to slip through the cracks. I don't want the extreme abused kid to make a comment and then I'm so nonchalant about it that they think that I don't care. So I definitely let them know where I'm coming from. I'm not talking about you, because some kids will say that. They will say, you know, well, you don't know what a kid has to go through when they wake up every day being abused. And I'm like, I'm not talking about you, sweetheart. I'm talking about my kid who has everything, and all I ask her to do is clean the room. But then
Girl,
I
that
show
is
you,
so funny how
yes,
they will not clean those rooms. Oh,
no, they won't. And you'll see on the Cash
did they
App,
clean before they left to go to college?
girl, that was a cue for them to make sure it was a mess. Like, I don't have to clean it. It is a total mess now. But I have a surprise for everybody, and I will be posting it soon. Like,
So do you think
yeah.
that you will start making posts directed toward those kids to say, this, you know, to try to help them?
Yeah, I was going to start doing that. That was that, and even you saying it is bringing tears to my heart, because I get a lot of DMs of a lot of broken kids and a lot of boys who've been like molested, and they just attack me because they think what I'm doing is attacking, you know, their peer, and they have to let it out, and they have to fight, and they have to argue, and I let them know, like, you know, this is not that situation.
We're
You know,
talking about suburban kids
right,
with their moms and their dads, even if
right,
you're in different locations and you've gone to school, you have food every day and
every day,
clothing and shoes and
every
vehicles
day,
to drive and all kinds
every
of
day.
advantages
Yes.
that, yeah.
But when they see something and it makes them feel something, they react to that something. So I have to break it down to them that that is not what my thing is about. And that's why I try to have conversations where I bring Mia and Victoria on to let them know, like, see, we still, you know,
Have a
talk to each other.
mother-daughter relationship.
Exactly, exactly. Like, this
Yeah.
is not what you see, or even if you read in the comments, because people will go in and have like streams of comments, and I'm reading them, and they're other against each other. Like, there'll be somebody who's pro Torah, pro me and Victoria, and they'll go at it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what do I say to this? You know, other than, listen, I'm a good mother. You know, I am a strict mother. I'm a mama bear. I don't take no for an answer. However, you know, this is not what I'm about. You know, I'm not an abusive mom. I don't jack my
Our
kids
kids act the
up.
way they act because we're good mothers, and they know that we're still going to be there supporting them even after all the little
Yep.
tantrums and, you know, but
We're examples of, they definitely hurt the ones you love. And I will go to my grave saying that. Like, they watch what they say to their dad, and I just look at them like, what? Huh? But with me, oh no. They will look
right.
him and I side by side. They will give me hell, and they will give him heaven. And I'll just be like, but I automatically know that's because you can do it. You're afraid to give him hell. You are afraid to think that I could lay him out the way I laid mom out, and then know 2 days later I can call her up and be like, hey, can I get $20 for this? Or, hey mom, did you see my this? Oh, can you send me that? Oh, if so and so come to the house, can you do that? No, they know they can't do that. They know that is going to be a no bargain deal with other people. It's just with me. I have that unconditional love.
Because something recently happened now that you mentioned that. And I asked my daughter, well, did you tell your father, blah, blah, blah? And did you say blah, blah, blah? Well, no, because I don't talk to grown-ups that way. You don't?
Ah,
But then you call me and say blah, blah, blah,
right.
you know, but that's because we love them and we've been
Yep.
there all the time and they
Yep.
know we're not going anywhere. Now, I will
No.
check you. There's only so far you're going to get with me. I
Oh
will
yeah.
check you hard,
Oh yeah.
but an hour later, I'm still going to come pick you up or do whatever it is because I'm going to make sure you're okay. And they
Yep.
know that.
And they know that.
They know
They
that.
know that. And that's a part of, I think, good parenting, good motherhood that a lot of these kids maybe not getting, even in the riches of the rich homes, they're not getting, you
Well,
know.
that's the worst environments. Those are the worst environments. I have found that the more money people make, the less typically, this is just a generalization and doesn't apply to everybody in that category. But typically, the more money they make, the less time they spend with their
More
kids,
attentive,
the
yeah.
more they have other people. So I have had a balance because I have classmates who are general counsels of Fortune 100 companies and stuff like that, Fortune 500, and making significant salaries, but they don't have. I did what I needed to do. So there's a balance between trying to have a good life and making sure I was parenting my kids because I very well could have just hired nannies and focused on the career,
Oh
but then
yeah.
it wouldn't be like it is and I wouldn't trade it. Well, maybe
Let
a
me
little bit.
tell you.
Sometimes I would, but for the
No, it's
most part, I
true.
wouldn't
It's
trade
true because I have a friend who's very, very wealthy. Her and her ex-husband are very wealthy. When I met them, they had nannies, au pairs, they had everything. And they would look at me and think, how are you hanging with us? And you got your kids, but we have this nanny and au pair for all of this.
it.
And I used to just be like, ain't no woman going home. That ain't the hand that rock the cradle is the hand that rule the world. We all know that. So no one's rocking my baby's cradle. That's just not gonna. You can come clean my house and cook, and you can go do whatever you want for me, but the kids you will never touch. And so
See,
that has
when I
always been my thing. And they got rid of their nannies. They got rid of the au pairs. They were like, if
Oh, no,
Tori
no,
can do
no.
it,
When I worked at the
fine
law
with it.
firms down on Pennsylvania Avenue by the White House, those women had nannies because our hours were such that your kids will be asleep when
Oh
you
yeah.
get home. So they
Mhm.
were breaking their necks sometimes saying, I haven't made it home for the kids' bedtime in X amount of days. I really promised
Mhm.
I would be there today. And then in the morning, you're trying to run out to work and the kids, somebody else is getting the kids ready. And so, I kind of made a decision very early on, but it was easier for me because I'm a Black woman.
Right.
Very early on, I decided I need a life outside of here. I
Mhm.
can't work here from 9 in the morning till 12:30, 29 days in a row because I am a Black woman. You have shut off all my external
Mhm.
communication and support because
Yep.
you people don't look like me, you don't live like me. I'm not getting what I need here. And so I'm going to find a way to earn money without giving up my whole life for it
Absolutely.
because the cost is too high. But our time is up. Now we're on our last topic, which is our former guest, Shantae White from the Gambia,
Mhm.
got her home burglarized her compound over in the Gambia burglarized last week. It's been on YouTube. She came on there crying her eyes out, saying that this is why I'm leaving the Gambia and I'm never returning. And then some of the
She said she's
repatriation
leaving and never returning.
to the get they took the grates, the metal grates off her window and stole her laptop, her phone, her this, her that, all of her electronics. And she was just devastated. And so then some other YouTubers picked it up and started talking about it. I mean, the implication is that it must be an inside job. She has security. Remember being,
Yeah.
we talked
Yeah.
about her security,
Yeah.
but she
She
also
told me
had
she had
dogs.
security. I said, why are you scared? When she broke it down, I kept thinking to myself, well, if you needed security and these people were from the United States and they're making money over in there, I was like, maybe you need to, regroup.
But that guy that she was talking about, the reason she needed security, he
Mhm.
was detained and they let him go. Apparently, this is not something I don't think that he's
See?
involved in. Now, another one of my friends who married a Gambian sent me one of his videos and said,
Mhm.
watch this. because he's saying you get what you deserve and
Yeah,
all
I was
that. I
gonna
haven't had
say,
a chance to watch
didn't think
it.
he had anything to do with it. I thought as
I
soon
don't
as
think
she
so.
said that, she went over there to find out about an investment and money then a company that was fraudulent, I was thinking to myself, people don't get and go to another country and start that type of unless they have many players in that game. So I'm
I don't know if
not
he
even
was involved.
surprised to hear that she had something happen to her. And that's not karma. That is
No,
literally
I don't
someone
think that's him.
attacking her because they got caught doing something illegal and she was the reason why they got caught.
So if that guy is connected, whomever the authorities are didn't link him up to that, and I haven't had a chance to watch his video to see what was he saying, but it may not be him. It may be some other people in her circle who
And
wanted what
really,
she
somebody
had.
has that much bad luck. I really just can't believe that. I just my spidey senses tell me that all the people that I see on YouTube that are having such an amazing time in Gambia, an amazing time, and have picked up their whole life, their families, and moved there. I just can't believe lightning can strike
But guess
that many
what?
times.
Guess what? Some of them have been burglarized too. There is some kind of thing that is going on there. Before now, they had a dictator who was brutal, who would go to the village and round up people and they never come back again. So there was like no crime in the Gambia because you could get beat to death in jail, be in jail for life, get killed, whatever. But he's been gone and they have democracy, and now things are changing because everything is not so strict. And so that brings me to people coming on YouTube and wanting to bash people for telling the truth. So the second time when I went to the Gambia and took my children, they canceled our flight home. And I was angry. My children were angry.
Who
And I
cancels your flight home?
Brussels Airlines. And so the way the Gambians in the airport handled it was really poor. And so I did 4 videos at the time, 3 or 4 about that and all
I didn't
everything that
watch those.
ensued, but I never posted them until the end. Like I thought about it when I got home that I could just blast them and go for it. But I said to myself, but we had a great visit and this ruined it at the end. So show the good part and then show the bad part. And then you get people coming on my channel, is mostly African Americans who now live in Africa or Africans trying to attack me. And I'm saying to them, I really don't care what your perspective is, because the same way I came on here talking about how beautiful the country was and how much fun I had, and I went dancing, I'm telling my people the truth because I
Yeah,
will be
tell my
setting
side of the
them up
story.
for
Yeah.
unexpected disappointment by pretending that it's all gravy. I'm always going to tell the truth, regardless. I'm always going to tell the truth. And I wanted to talk about, why it is that people get offended when you tell the truth. Life is not, even in America, life is not all good. You have to be able to air the good with the bad.
Let me see. Why do people get unhappy when you tell the truth? I
About
found
Africa in
about
particular, like they have some idea that we're only supposed to big it up so everybody will want to come. How about we tell the truth and let people make a real decision?
okay, so I'm gonna put myself in their shoes for 1 second. I'm gonna
Okay.
say the reason why Africans or people that represent Africa get upset when negative talk is being spewed, even if positive talk was, you know, in the forefront, I'm going to say is because they felt like for years and centuries, and on top of every single thing you can think of was negative, was portrayed about Africa. And finally, something good is coming out. So finally, social media and YouTube and other people are starting to talk so great about this place. It's like, no, let's not go back there, please. We understand there's corruption everywhere. We understand bad things happen everywhere. However, from here on out, can we only focus on the good, since so much negativity has been spewed about, we're barbaric, we're, voodoo people, we're, people, cannibals. We y'all already said all of that. So we already know that corruption and evil and bad things happen in Africa, but please, let's only focus now and make up for all that lost time that we were only talked about in a negative light. We never was talked about. We had fly babies and babies who, needed something to eat and had swollen bellies. We had all of that depicted. Now that you can see that we have beautiful homes and tropical beaches, let's just focus on that. Let's see what happens if you only project that. So that
So
would be
this is what
mine.
I would say to that. And I think that's a good perspective, and it may have something to do with why they act like that. But
Mhm.
this is what I would say. The same thing we said about Brother Polite. If you don't want us to talk about it, don't do it. Because when our flight got delayed, they put us up in Brussels Airlines, actually put us up in a really nice hotel. It was far as hell, but it was really nice. It was chaotic. The Gambians were chaotic. But the next day they robbed us of 7,500 dalasi, which is like $150, because they claimed we had to update our COVID test, even though we had taken it 48 hours ago. It should have been fine. And they charged us and they wouldn't give us a receipt. So you did it pretending that we would get the money when we got to Brussels, but we're not if you're not giving us a receipt. And so they robbed us of that money. And I put that on my video. I exposed how they scammed us out of that money. And then people were, you need to get a professional escort. You need to this, you need to that, you need to. I said, you need to construe it however you construe it. But the same way I big up them with the beaches and stuff, I'm going to tell the truth. And my thing goes right back to what we said about Brother Polite. If you don't want anybody to know, don't do it. If you don't want me to tell the YouTube world that you scammed us out of 7,500 dalasi pretending we needed to update our test, then don't do that sort of thing. And it won't be anything to tell. But what we're not going to do is do that kind of BS. And then I'm going to come home and pretend it never happened. And then I'm going to see fellow African Americans go over there and deal with that corruption and be disappointed and distraught and all that, when I could have just told them, look, brothers and sisters, this is what happened to me. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you or anybody else. I'm saying this is in the realm of possibility because it happened to me. So be prepared to pivot. And, maybe like the first time I went, I did have someone who was paid to meet me at the airport, escort me through all of that. Depending on whatever's going on at the time, I will act accordingly. But this caught me off guard. We made it through our entire visit. We had friends bring us to the airport and drop us off there. I took a router in there with me, but it turned out I still didn't have service. But it caught me off guard because we were on our way out. I thought we made it. You know what I mean? I thought we made it. So they caught me off guard because I do prepare. But I just found it so bizarre that certain elements thought that, what was I supposed to do? Hide that? Don't tell anybody? That's crazy. And it's not right.
And I get that. And I get that, you want to tell your truth, you want to speak your truth as you see it. I just think that when you've been as just an individual, if I know I'm a good person and I know there's more good to me than bad, the only thing ever gets talked about is my negativity. I can flip it and see why the people who want just the good projected. I can understand that.
But if you know that about yourself,
Mhm.
if you know you're mostly a good person and you do more good than bad, but people have only highlighted your bad, when you get the opportunity to have your good highlighted, aren't you going to consistently put a good foot forward so that people can see that you really are good? It's one thing to say, we have been maligned in the press, let's call it that. And now people are coming out telling all the good stuff we do. And we're just constantly trying to be better and better because we want that to be known. It's another to be saying, but we're going to be over here in a corner doing all kind of dirty dealing. Well, we're going to be upset if you talk about it. No, cut that part out and show us the good and be your best self. And then if we're harping on minor things, call us out. But don't be running major scams and then getting mad because somebody told about it.
And okay, so statistically, it said, okay, this is just statistically, it said, if I have a great experience with anything, restaurant, food, clothing, whatever, if I have a great experience, I tell 2 people. If I have a horrible experience, I tell 15 people. So you instantly know. Yeah, you instantly know the trickle down thing. You instantly know that those two people are only going to tell two more people. And if you know 15 people going to tell 15 people, that's 30 more people that know something horrible happened. So that's basically what happens when negativity is told against positivity.
But I
So
think we have to focus on the people doing the negativity having unrealistic expectations that we're going to really participate in the negativity by covering it up for you versus the person who just said, this happened to me.
but
I
what
don't think it's
lasts
realistic.
longer, what lingers longer, lasts longer, and have more effect on people, I'm sorry, is negativity. If I say to someone, I want to have gastric bypass, and I'm 600 pounds, right? And that person says, good for you, you ought to do it. I've seen so many beautiful people, and your whole life changes from here on out. 7 people can come behind you and say the same thing that person said, but then that one person can come to you and say, oh my God, don't do it. I heard people drop dead on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And that one person who you have had 7 people come tell you great stories, how positive the experience would be. But that one person, you say, well, why are you not going to do it? You're going to have heart disease. You have diabetes. You're 600 pounds. You can't walk. Well, so-and-so told me that they uncle died on the table and he came home, or the uncle so-and-so told you.
But you know what the difference is?
7 people told you great things, but this one person had the impact.
But you know what the difference is? The difference is that that person is a neutral individual, and 7 people told them something positive and one told them something negative. And as is human nature, they latched onto the negative. Well, what I'm talking about here is I've spent months. I did 2 trips. I've spent months talking about every great thing I could. And only at the end did I say, now this is the negative experience I had. The people engaging in the negativity have absolutely no right to be coming to me saying, why did you tell? Why did you do it? Don't do that. If you don't want us to talk about scamming and corruption, then do everything in your power to minimize it. But don't run major game and think I'm going to sit around and cover it up for you because more people are going to focus on what I say negative than positive. I'm sorry, back to Brother Polite. If you don't want us talking about it, don't do it. I try not to do things that I don't want anybody to say. If you call me on it and I did it, I'm going to say, dang, my judgment was off, whatever the answer is, but I did do that. What I'm not going to do is get angry at you and say, how dare you tell somebody exactly what I did? I mean, you know?
I'm 100% with you. I'm just playing the devil's advocate because I agree everything of what you're saying, but that just goes to show you the human race. That goes to show you that we feel if negativity is heard, felt, or seen, more people won't even want to do it. You know, they might think, so somebody's scamming over here and they lucrative from it, or this is how somebody making money. Well, I got a better scheme than that. So that's just our faith in the human race, that people actually will sit around and think when they hear certain things that more can manifest in a negative way from it. You know, it goes, it's a wide spectrum. You know, some people just don't want the negativity talked about because they don't want the positivity being dim, and some people feel like, well, you're going to just make more negative things come about because
they got to do better. I would say 2 things. Number one, the African Americans, there's a number of them coming into my comments, and some Gambians too, saying I'm Gambian too, and those people are known scammers, and when I go to the airport, they do it to me too. So there are a lot of people in the comments saying, sis, thanks for telling the truth. People always want you to hide the truth, and then we go over there. So I'm glad I did it. The other thing is there's this Gambian guy now who has a channel who's reached out to me and asked me to interview with him. I said yes. I mean, I'm not doing any 2-hour show, but I said, I'll give you a 30-minute interview. That's it. And so he said, okay. And now I watch his show, and girl, He is anti-Gambian. He is a Gambian who has lived in the US for like 2 decades.
That doesn't make sense.
He goes, oh girl, he has examples. He tells you what they did to his cousin, what they did to him, what they did to his sister, and it's all negative. So it's going to be crazy because I don't appreciate what they did, but I don't feel anti-Gambian. I just share the
But
good
that's
like I
just his
share the
plight.
bad. But
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
just
going to
his
be
plight.
interesting.
That's definitely his plight in life, and he has every right to defame wherever,
It's his own people. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how to feel
Yeah.
about your people, but I don't feel that way.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting because I have to keep my integrity. I'm going to let him think what he thinks, but you know me, I'm going to say what I feel.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And I
all right,
appreciate
well, that was it for that. We have come to the conclusion of our episode. As
Absolutely.
always, we thank you for joining us. We're so glad you came to Kick It
Absolutely.
with Kimm and Torra.
And once again, please like, subscribe, comment, and definitely talk about us. We want you to talk about us more so we can have more viewers and we get to interact with more viewers. So please, until next time, thank you for kicking it with Kimm and Torra.
Good night.
Good night.